But Republican members of Congress are already moving toward repealing Obama's landmark piece of legislation. The House just advanced a resolution to fund the process to eliminate Obamacare. But my next guest says it's not too late to save Obamacare. Democratic Representative Dan Kildee of Michigan wants to save that measure, Affordable Care Act. He is leading a rally in Warren, Michigan tomorrow alongside Senator Bernie Sanders and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Welcome, Representative. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So this week, President-elect Trump had this to say about this Affordable Care Act.
Obamacare is a complete and total disaster. We don't want to own it. We don't want to own it politically. They own it right now. So the easiest thing would be to let it implode in 17. And believe me, we'd get pretty much whatever we wanted, but it would take a long time.
So do you see it imploding unless it is replaced with something else?
Well, if they repeal it and don't replace it, obviously that will have incredible consequences. And to hear President-elect Trump really speak to the political implications for the loss of health care for 20 million people, or the loss of significant coverage that can't be taken away from hundreds of millions of people, how cynical can he possibly be to be measuring this question based on the political implications? This is about the life and health of people.
At least in that soundbite, he's making the argument that it will implode unless some kind of intervention comes in to replace it with something else. So he's saying it's all, you know, in his words, it's a total disaster, that it's going to implode this year unless a new plan is put in place.
Well, that's just rhetoric. I mean, this law, while imperfect, like any law, could use some changes, I'm sure, that we could work together to achieve. But when we hear Republicans and even President-elect Trump talk about the elements of their plan, which of course is a secret, they won't reveal it, they describe the Affordable Care Act. They describe coverage that can't be taken away. They describe plans that children can be on until the age of 26. They describe the Affordable Care Act. They might want to call it something else, but the truth of the matter is this is an important legacy, not just of President Obama, but of us finally as a nation coming to the point where we see health care as a right that shouldn't be determined by whether or not you are a wealthy person. It is something that is fundamental. The Affordable Care Act moved us forward on that. And right now, the Republicans seem more focused on scoring political points or satisfying their narrow ideological base by saying, look, we repealed it, with no idea whatsoever what they will replace it with.
And then you heard in that town hall here on CNN with House Speaker Paul Ryan, you heard a man who's a Republican who said he has volunteered on a number of campaigns, who looked squarely in the eye of Paul Ryan and said, he is thanking President Obama because it helped save his life as a cancer patient. And this is what else was said during that town hall.
Because we see this law collapsing even faster this year, because we see more insurance companies pulling out, people with little or no choices, and another round of double-digit premium increases, we really feel we need to step in and provide better choices and better options as fast as possible. So we're going to move on this as quickly as we can.
First 100 days?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's something, definitely is a plan within the first 100 days to get moving on this legislation.
All right, so Paul Ryan making it sound, I mean, just in that verbiage, that it's fairly simple to make these improvements. We know that repealing has been defeated more than 60 times. What, in your view, could be different this go-round if indeed it is replaced as soon as it is repealed? What would be in this possible, replace plan that you think would allow this Affordable Care Act to be salvaged or improved?
Well, I mean, obviously, the idea of having competition, which will affect pricing both for premiums but also the cost of health care itself, makes sense. And we're certainly willing to look at those areas where there has been diminished competition because of the providers that are available, the health care insurers that are available. That's a technical question that we can answer. But you don't decide to blow up the entire thing with the idea that, well, maybe we can some solutions. This means the loss of health care to hundreds, I mean, really 20 million people immediately, for sure, but an impact on health care that's provided for over 100 million people. So I really don't understand why Speaker Ryan or the Republicans, who have had 6 years after 60 votes to repeal this, why they can't just present their alternative without having to put the entire health care of many millions of people in jeopardy without any plan to replace it. We know why. It's politics. And when it comes to politics, we understand this is a political environment we're in, but when it comes to the certainty of access to health care, to like that man who was on the town hall with Speaker Ryan, the certainty that when he got cancer, he would be able to have life-saving treatment, that is not something that should ever be the subject of political debate. That is a fundamental human right. And to see the Republicans in Congress and President-elect Trump see this as a political question, it's shameful. It tells you how far we've gone. You know, on one hand, you've got health care being taken away from millions of people. And Donald Trump wakes up today and decides that the most important thing he can do is insult my friend, an icon of the civil rights movement, who was nearly beaten to death to fight for the rights of others. And Donald Trump decides that that's the most important thing he can do is to attack
And then
John Lewis.
you tweeted in response saying, my friend, Representative John Lewis has sacrificed more than Donald Trump ever has or will. Here he is almost dying fighting for equal rights. But in your view, as it pertains to how this dispute was invited, that Congressman Lewis would go on an interview on NBC and say that he doesn't consider President-elect Trump legitimate, even after we know Donald Trump questioned the legitimacy of President Barack Obama for 8 years plus. Even though you support Congressman Lewis's background and his commitment to serving America, what's your view on whether it was appropriate for even Congressman Lewis to say that?
Well, John Lewis has earned the right to express his opinion through decades of fighting for the rights of others to do the same. So I'm not going to second guess John Lewis. I will say this, that any scrutiny that Donald Trump is receiving for his performance, not just up to the election, but in the weeks that have followed, any scrutiny that he is bringing is scrutiny that he is bringing upon himself. His behavior has been embarrassing. Okay. And he just has to accept the fact that he has to grow up someday.
Right there. And you will be at inauguration?
I will be there unhappily.
All right. Congressman Dan Kildee, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And stay with CNN for our coverage of tomorrow's Democratic rally to save Obamacare, affordable